And we're live.
All right. So, first of all, I welcome you all to Quinn Healthcare, and the experience is to come and see a primary care physician in action, seeing patients, which y'all saw a little bit. Was it exciting to you?
Yes.
Y'all weren't afraid of the blood and everything?
No.
Nobody was afraid. Okay, good, good. Now, how many people are going into the healthcare field? Everybody. Okay. Just real quick, we're gonna go around. Tell me what you're aspiring to be. Physical therapy? Veterinarian?
OBGYN.
OB? OB? Pharmacy?
Labor and delivery nurse.
Labor and delivery?
Veterinarian.
Veterinarian? Veterinarian? Anesthesiologist. Okay, we have a physician's assistant student with us today. Go ahead. Registered nurse? Nurse practitioner?
Military psychiatrist or psych nurse.
Alright. Other than military? What about you, lady?
Pharmacist.
Pharmacist?
Registered nurse.
Registered nurse?
Registered nurse.
Registered nurse?
Dental hygienist. Dental hygienist.
Dental hygienist?
A general surgeon or surgeon for technician.
Making the money. Okay. Alright. Brain surgeon.
A nurse practitioner.
Nurse practitioner?
Registered nurse.
Registered nurse?
OBGYN.
OBGYN?
Psychiatrist.
Psychiatrist. You sure? Alright. Now here's the deal. The healthcare field is a wonderful field to work in. The main reason why I chose to work in the healthcare field is to help people. And you know, a lot of times when you talk to different people, you know, why are you going to this field? Some people might say, I'm going for the money, I'm going for the fame and all that. But at the end of the day, if you can help people, there's no greater payback than to know that you positively impacted another person. And have any of you all ever heard me on the radio? I'm on 97.7, the Hip Hop Medical Minute. You've heard, okay. So I got one fan, and okay, I got a couple. Y'all heard my raps and things at night. On Wednesday night, I get on there. But I do that because I want to reach an audience that ordinarily would not be reached. Meaning, a lot of people that listen to 97.7 are young, like you guys, like I used to be back in the day, and we don't really think about healthcare. So I'm very fortunate that I had that opportunity to get on that radio station and reach people who ordinarily wouldn't be reached, and that's really good because you want to make an impact. Now, as far as school, it's very important that you make the highest grades you possibly can, because the deal is, if you want to go into the healthcare field, they're going to look at your grades. So you want to make really good grades in high school so you can get in a good college, but when you're in college, you have to make good grades. Now, in order to make good grades, you have to have an attitude of a winner. And I often tell this story of my daughter, because my daughter and I, we talk about what's the difference between a winner and somebody who's not a winner, okay? Do you think winners always win?
No.
So what's the difference between a winner and somebody who is not quite a winner?
A winner never quits.
A beast?
A winner never quits.
A winner never quits. Okay, I thought you said a winner's a beast. Sometimes I'm a beast in the gym, you know, pumping iron and stuff. But the deal is, there was something that happened a couple of years ago that really made me feel good about my conversations with my daughter. My daughter wanted to be a cheerleader, okay? And, you know, she filled out all the paperwork, and she was all excited about it. And about maybe 6 weeks before the tryouts, she learned that all the other girls were getting private lessons from tutors. And they were very expensive. Now, about that time, I was getting ready to get a new car. My car was paid off. But I said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and pay for these lessons, and I'll just hold off on getting my car for a couple of months. Cool, right? So she would go to one coach, and they teach her tumbling, turning flips, and, you know, form, you know, all that, you know. Yeah. I even learned I might be a cheerleader too. But the deal is, she did all this, you know, 3 days a week. She would go to these lessons for 6 weeks. Well, when the tryouts occurred, you know, I was with my daughter, and they sent an email. And they said they were going to send an email at a certain time. I think it was like 6:30 or 7 o'clock at night. And the email read, "We regretfully inform that you did not make it." And, man, I almost started, well, I did cry, a little tear. But I didn't want her to see me, you know what I mean? So I told my daughter, I said, "Look, I got to take a ride, okay? I'll be back." You know, I got in my car and I was driving. I was thinking, man, God, this is, you know, because she was really hurt. You know, have any of you ever tried out for something? You tried so hard, but it just did not happen. Has that ever happened to anyone? What did you try for?
Oh, my ninth grade shit. No, my seventh grade shit. Break shit. I ain't left that for
Boom. That's what I'm talking. But it's bad. You know, you tried, it just didn't happen, right? And it sounds like you might have my daughter's attitude, but the bottom line is my daughter called me while I was driving. And she said, "Daddy, I want to continue the lessons." And I was like, "For what? You didn't make it." She said, "I'm going to make it next year." You know, I almost drove my car off the street. I was like, whoa. Because that's the winner mentality. If you don't do well, don't give up. Just try hard and keep trying. And you know, she went to those lessons 3 days a week for a whole, she even broke her arm, had to get a metal rod placed in her arm. But the following year, she made it. Hey, and on Friday nights, I'm cheering for my daughter cheerleaders. Hey, and it took me a whole nother year to get a car, but that's okay. I'm just rolling in that car. But the bottom line is you have to make good grades, and you have to really apply yourself. You want to study a little bit every day. Don't wait to the test and then cram. You want to study every day so you can learn the material, and that way you'll do better on the standardized tests like the ACT and all these tests like that. But the bottom line is, you guys, y'all have shown quite an interest by even coming here today. Because when you apply to these programs, if you got experience, say, hey, I went and shout out this doctor, I went and shout out this pharmacist, I went and shout out this nurse, then that way, you know, when you fill out your application, everybody's going to have straight A's, but they'll say, oh, well, let's look at this candidate. They have experience in the actual field. You know, do y'all know who Puff Daddy is? Take that. You know who Puff Daddy is. Y'all know P. Diddy?
P. Diddy.
Yeah.
He got like 3 or 4 names.
Yeah,
I say, Dr. Quinn, you got to come on back to this
But
area.
one thing that really impressed me with him is when he was in college, he wanted to be a record executive. So he called a radio station and he asked them if he could just wash cars and go get McDonald's for him or something. He got his foot in the door. And once he got in the door, he learned and got all that experience. So I say, you know, try to get experience in your field. If you want to be a pharmacist or a veterinarian or a nurse or a surgeon, try to seek out those type of professionals during your summer break and ask, can you just come in there and volunteer? And that way you can get experience, so when you fill out your application, you say, I want to be a doctor, I will be a doctor. And these are letters from doctors that I've shadowed over the years. And that'll be the one thing that can take you over the top. There's got to be something special that you're doing to demonstrate that you deserve the opportunity. Because getting into these schools is, right, you got to show something. You got to show something. So I'm gonna go ahead and conclude. And I really appreciate y'all coming, and it's been an honor to talk to you. And I encourage everyone to make the highest grades, have that winner mentality, and try to get experience in the field that you want to go into. And then the other part about it is, you might get experience in the field, and you might be like, wait a minute, like, where's the veterinarian at? Raise your hand. Okay. Say you go volunteer in a veterinarian clinic, and some dogs bite you. You might be like, I don't want to be a veterinarian, you know what I mean? So you want to experience it so you can see what it's like. Because the deal is, you know, initially I wanted to be a surgeon, and I followed some surgeons, and they would, you know, stand there all day, and the people, like, I'm a talker. I like to talk, but you can't talk to people when they're under anesthesia because they're asleep. So I like being a family doctor. Hey, how you doing, man? You know, the whole day goes by fast, but surgeons, they're like that, but they do make a lot of money. But it just depends on the type of person you are. You want to make sure you find the field that's comparable to your personality and the way you want to live your life. All right, well, does anybody have any questions? Go ahead, friend.
Good afternoon. My name is Sienna, and my question is, what encouraged you to start your own private business?
The reason I wanted to start my own private business has a lot to do with the fact that I really want to reach people who ordinarily would not be reached. And like going on a radio station, on a hip hop radio station on Wednesday night, spitting some raps, but sliding some medical information in there. Or I do a church ministry where I go to a lot of churches and do screenings. I actually did an interview for the television earlier today. I do a lot of stuff unconventional for a doctor because I'm sort of following my grandfather's footsteps. My grandfather was a pastor, and he had 3 churches, and he would preach to the congregation. But the deal is, on Friday nights and Saturday nights, he'll go to the club. But he didn't go in the club. He'd be outside the club. And the guys would come out, they'd be all, intoxicated. He'd say, hey, have you ever thought about finding Jesus? Ladies come out and say, hey, do you have children? You ever thought about being with your family? He'd give them Bible verses. And the deal is, sometimes it'd be dangerous because, they'd be like, man, get out the way, old man. And, but he really believed that it was his purpose to help people that really needed it. He felt it was important to preach to the choir, and the people in the church, but he knew if he got out of church, he could help people that never would receive the word and really make an impact, possibly saving their lives. And that's why I did a private practice, so I could have the flexibility to sort of run it the way I want to run it so that I can fulfill my purpose. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. My name is Tiffany Bryan. Did you face any hardships while starting up your practice?
I didn't, because Mississippi is a area that's very underserved as far as medical providers. So I actually got a lot of financial supplementation to start my practice. I was actually in California, and I wanted to start my own practice, but when I talked to the people in Mississippi, they were like, if you'll just come, we'll financially, make it so you can start your own practice. So, yeah, that's a good deal.
I just want to know, how long did it take you to create your own business?
I mean, I started from scratch because, like I said, I had financial. I remember going to the Office Depot, and I was like, man, I didn't know what to. Maybe I need some staples. I had no idea, but I winged it. But yeah, I never worked anywhere.
Hello, my name is Alex Phipps, and being a private practice, how do you deal with patients that aren't able to afford health care?
We work with them. It's tough. It's really tough, but we work with them. We have to, get some things together for health care with their job, and then we have the Obamacare. Most people are insured, so it's not as bad as it was a few years ago. We just have to really work with people who don't have insurance, but at the same time be very thankful that so many people have health insurance right now. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. My name is Nakia Ford, and I wanted to know, how do you interact with patients to make them feel more at home?
Just being friendly. I mean, the deal is, at Quinn Healthcare, what we do is we try to make everybody feel at home, and that's a good question. We greet them, we go around to the rooms that they've been waiting, ask them, hey, would you like some water? Just be friendly. And the thing is, if you have a very friendly personality, you should consider that when you're choosing your field. Like, for instance, if you're somebody like me that just talks to people everywhere you go, family medicine might be good. Or if you're somebody who's more of a scientist type person, maybe you might want to be an anesthesiologist or a radiologist. But over time, you'll figure out which specialty fits your personality best. But that's why it's so important you get that experience by going in with those doctors, working with those nurses, those veterinarians. Don't get bit by the dog. But at the same time, you just have to figure out what works with your personality. But if you have a friendly personality, well, the patients, they will receive that.
How do you detach yourself from your patients? Like, if you get emotionally attached to them, or if they're passing or something like that, how do you?
You just have to live in reality. She asks, how do you detach yourself from your patients so when you go home at night, you're not just burdened all night thinking about, oh. You just have to realize that you can only do the best. You're only one person. So, there are days that I have to give really bad news to a lot of people. And, early on, I was bothered. I would lay in the bed and think, I feel so bad, and maybe not sleeping very well. But over the years, you know, you just learned that you just have to do everything you can do, and just the rest you have to leave it to God, you know. But at the same time, it is a good question. And if you are somebody that really has a hard time, you know, with that, maybe you would consider that when you're choosing what field of medicine you go into. Maybe the emergency room might not be the best place, or somewhere where people are just at the worst case scenario. But that is a good question. And these are good questions because these are questions you want to ask yourself when you're choosing what you want to do with the rest of your life. Because once you graduate medical school and you do your residency, or you graduate veterinarian school, it's real hard to say, hey, I don't want to be a vet no more. Now I want to be a dentist. You know, you kind of married to it. So it's a very big decision that you all are getting ready to make. Which field, career path you're going to go on. That's why it's really important you ask all these questions and get what I tell you how to get. Get good grades and experience, so you can, you know, put your foot in the water and say, ooh, it's too hot. You see what I'm saying? Don't get in that water. Okay. Any more? Go ahead, ma'am.
Hey, how did you know that you wanted to be a doctor?
You know, it's funny. I didn't even really know I wanted to be a doctor. I actually just wanted to go to college because it seemed fun. It's so crazy. And I'm gonna tell you, I graduated high school on academic probation. I didn't have good grades, believe it or not. Not saying don't be like me. I mean, not saying be like me, but I didn't really have good grades. But what happened was I had a cousin at Alcorn. Y'all ever heard of Alcorn? Mm-hmm. And my cousin, he wanted me to come down for the weekend with him. It was a high school weekend. They had Bobby Brown. Y'all probably know who he is, okay. But you know, they had the high school weekend for the high schoolers. And man, we had such a good time. And you know, I was like, man, I'm going to college. I didn't know anything about the grades, but the deal is, I didn't have any money. So I joined the reserve, the Army National Guard. And I went to the boot camp, did real well because I was an athlete. I played football, I ran track from the hot Mississippi. But then I had to take a test called the ASVAB. Now when you take this ASVAB test, if you make a high score, you can get certain critical positions in the military. Well, apparently I was smart, I just never knew it. Because I scored a high score, they put me in the medical field. So I went to San Antonio to do my training, and but I went there with the same mindset that I had in high school. Like, soon as formation over, whoop, whoop, you know, you ready to go to the NCO club. You know, I didn't know go study, you know. So I flunked out. But right when I got the information I was, you know, going to be, you know, kicked out, they weren't going to kick me out. They told me that my unit back in Mississippi had been deployed, and they were getting ready to go to the Desert Storm War. And I don't know if y'all know about that, but that was during that time. If you go to war, in my mind, they were going to throw chemical, biological agents on you and you would die. So I remember going in there, talking to my commander, and I said, sir, is there anything I can do? He said, no, we're going to go ahead and make you infantry and send you on to the war because you can't cut it. I said, sir, if you give me one more chance, I will kill it. So basically, they started me over from the beginning. And I didn't go to any more NCO club, forget all that. I just would go study every day, all day. On the first test, 100. Second test, I mean, the other students, they were mad because I was messing up the curve. Did they still do the curve where, like, everybody do bad? But anyway, I was making these, I was like, man, I never made good grades before. But when I started making high scores, I was like, I am smart. I just I never applied myself. And that's a good story for y'all to think about. You know, if your grades aren't what you want them to be, hey, you can surprise yourself if you just put the time in, you know? And don't go to the NCO club. Y'all probably don't have the NCO club. But the bottom line is, when I started college, I went in on academic probation, but I had that new mindset and, you know, graduated with honors and got into medical school. So that's pretty much, now how did I get into medicine, right? Well, going to college, I worked in the hospital as a nursing assistant using my military certification. And, you know, the nurse was like, man, you ought to just don't be a doctor. And just one thing led to another, and God bless me. So I'm here today. So that's my story. Thank y'all so much. And
we're about 2 more minutes of your time. We would
okay.
love to get a picture with you because we always like to sort of capture the moment with our guests. So
okay.
we really want to do that if you don't mind.
All right.
I think at a good spot would maybe sort of in between everyone right there. In the
Okay,
middle of
yeah.
it, if you don't mind. Just slide over just a little bit and then get heard about that video.